Richard, you have a question.
Yes, I have the great pleasure of being a bus driver on Bowen, and it's a very important part of this community. And I can tell you that the appreciation from the users that we are showing up and getting them to the ferry on time and taking them home, linking the community during the day, not because the majority of our travel is to the ferry in the morning, and then in the afternoon is from the ferry home, but during the midday, we're all the way from Hood Point, when called, Eagle Cliff, all the way up to the end of Blue Water and back. We could use some changes to the signage that we have overhead, where we can actually program in a couple of things that would be just local colloquial situations. Like the midday one where we start out at Eagle Cliff, and somebody could get on the bus at Eagle Cliff and end up in Blue Water, but it says you're going to Snug Cove, but then you've got to change it to Snug Cove. Whereas it would be nice to say from the end of Eagle Cliff to put Blue Water via Snug Cove as a PR that we can. So if we could just program this thing in some colloquial ways, that would be very helpful. Yes, we record. Every shift records the passengers and the bikes, and there's money gone in the thing. We don't take the money in the thing. A lot of times people will show us they've got the day pass, but because we're not the electronic, we can't. There's nothing we can do with it. Or if somebody wants to give us cash, then we have to give them a loose ticket. So we tell them, don't give us the cash because you're dealing with the bus on the other side. Because if they give us the cash and we give them a loose ticket, they've still got an open fare. It's there's really no way of marking it so that it gets used in the electronic on the other side.
So is that passenger then recorded?
Well, yeah, the passengers recorded. We've got clickers. I mean, I have we put the mark down or use the button, or I have a clicker that I have on my key ring, but I'm always recording the passengers as they get on. And it's this is a different kind of place than town, and so and that has to be appreciated. It's we know who we are. We see each other all the time. We pick each other across the road. As we're just because we know who we are. So, and that's an important feature to keep whatever happens in that kind of local Bowen community way. It's going to be interesting with these electronic cards as to how we deal with it. Will we be changing the devices on the buses, and will they rattle apart? Because the roads are not the smoothest roads in the world. And
I think I should respond to it.
and it's hard on the vehicles. I mean, these roads are hard on the vehicles. This is the case, and I can only think of 2 times in the 2.5 years that I've been driving the buses where I've actually had to deploy the wheelchair ramp. The wheelchair ramp on our buses is really kind of superfluous in a lot of ways. You could go to a smaller bus without the wheelchair ramp.
This is the lift, I'm assuming?
This is the wheelchair lift, yes. Without the ramp, in order to provide the extra seating, with the addition of a handy dart, the smaller handy dart, that can be the gorilla machine to go up the driveways into the various places, so that can take care of the wheelchair needs. Because when the bus is going to the ferry in the morning, for example, you've got to get people to a specifically timed ferry. There's really not a lot of latitude in the schedule to be able to stop the bus, put it in park, get out, walk around, open the doors, deploy the wheelchair ramp, load somebody on the wheelchair ramp, put them in, close the doors, tie them down, get back in the bus, and catch the ferry. You've now got 15 people who've missed the ferry by the time it's taken to negotiate getting someone on the bus. This isn't exactly the most wheelchair-friendly community in the first place, so we tend not to have people that are wheelchair-bound here moving around. There are no sidewalks, there's no curbs, there's none of that stuff, so it tends to dissuade people like that in the first place. So having a gorilla machine that can do those particular specific needs would be very useful, and then use the space differently on the buses here. Two other small points. If somebody gets to Horseshoe Bay by transit, they should be able to walk off that bus and use their transfer to get onto our regional ferry link to Bowen Island, so they can walk off and get on the transit on this side and not have to pay anything extra to be on the ferry. As a walking foot passenger that's arrived by transit, not just somebody who shows up to get on the ferry, but if you've actually shown up by transit, that should become part of the transit link to get them to and from. Since we don't pay a fare from this side, it doesn't really matter, but when you're coming from the Horseshoe Bay side, if you've got a valid ticket or a marked trip, timed trip on your card, you put it through the slot at the ferry terminal and just get on the ferry because you've come by transit. That would take a lot of people out of their cars. That would really make it an interesting thing for people to make a point of using the bus to get to Horseshoe Bay, by being able to just transfer onto the ferry and come home. One last point, when you get off the ferry and you get on a bus in Horseshoe Bay, why can't you take a bus that'll take you on the upper levels to the Caulfield Mall, to the Cypress exit to go skiing, to 15th and to Taylor Way, to interlink with those buses, to Westview rather, to there, and all the way along down, and eventually get to Capilano by stitching the whole North Shore together with an express type bus that uses the upper levels to stitch into all of those points. If it comes off the ramp, you get a bus stop, somebody gets off and can get onto one of the local ones at that point. So you then end up at Capilano, one bus that's taking you there quickly. Then the Phibbs Exchange into Burnaby, and away you go. That upper levels is absolutely, would be spectacular and used immensely.
That was one of the routes that was evaluated and it didn't make the final cut. It's still on the list as an ongoing option.
It just boggles my mind where that doesn't, that stitch across the whole North Shore is not being used. I probably could talk for another half an hour, but I'm not sure.
Thanks, Richard.
No, Richard raised the point. We were very disappointed that I can't remember what number it was that was in here for that express service along the highway didn't materialize.
And for the reasons you said, it was evaluated and found to be lower.
But
Didn't meet the criteria.
for our kids to get Cap College or just transfer to Simon Fraser, and for people going to the Lions Gate and all that stuff.
Or to go skiing at Cypress, and for somebody in Caulfield to get to anywhere.
Yeah.
Just all that upper part stuck together.
But the point that you made about using the bus tickets to get on the ferry, I think that's really an important point. I don't know, I really honestly don't know why we should pay to get on this regional ferry
Like the sea.
from our regional Translink bus.
Probably a conversation we would have to have with BC Ferries.
No, that could be, but
We've raised that
it could
all
be
the time.
started. It could be started by Translink, and that's. I think that's an important issue.
Absolutely. I can make one comment, maybe not so specifically about that, but generally about the cost of transportation. As you know, Translink is having a significant amount of challenge financially, and being asked to be more efficient and use our resources more efficiently. And that's largely because the resources we've had in the past have in some cases slowed down or gone lower than they were in the past. So getting less revenue out of fuel tax than in the past, for example. So anything that would change either the revenue that we derive or that would increase the cost, would have to be justified significantly and found some way of paying for it. So if you've got suggestions on how to do that, we'd be happy to have those conversations. At this point, I'm not sure that we have the resources to be able to pursue initiatives.
Maybe you should have put in the infrastructure fund, the federal infrastructure fund.
Well, actually, Translink has actually received a significant amount from federal infrastructure funds in the past, several $100 million in the past few years that we've used for fleet and infrastructure improvements.
Anybody else have any questions? No?
Just to confirm the fact that we are gonna get access to the ridership numbers that we've had in the past, going back, is this something that we did?
Yeah, I'm going to
Is
take
that
that back. I can see no reason why not. We'll likely have to ask an opinion of perhaps Jennifer Reason, our corporate solicitor, but I can't see any reason why. Provided it's, I'm concerned that there is this gap in those ridership numbers, so we're going to have a look at them, I'm sure. I'm sure that they're, and Tony indicated that they're being submitted to Andre, so certainly we can get hold of Andre and talk to him about the data too. But I think it would be important for, you folks to see the numbers.
Very definitely, it would be.
I also understand that the budget number, for instance, sounds like it was new news to you too, and I'm not sure if that's a proprietary piece of information or not, but it's just a global budget. It would show up within our estimates and some financials, so just so you're aware of.
So can I make a motion that we move to a closed meeting? or-
Shirley just.
Sure.
Sorry, I was
You're
just
gonna
actually just
stay.
going to echo Councillor Morse had a really great idea that when those numbers come through, it's a great idea that actually council gets the numbers at the same time that we do, and there's no reason why council shouldn't have that, and it keeps you apprised of what's happening on Bowen Island. So, and then that way it's not you're getting it right from the contractor, which is excellent. So I think that's a great idea.
Okay. We're gonna move to a closing.
We need a resolution to move to a close, and the recommendation is that council move to a closed meeting to review items pursuant to section 91A